Hi, how are you? I'm going to talk a little today about, well, Hip Hop Bebop is a whole story in itself on how I didn't get paid, how I signed my record deal. But one of the things we used to do with Hip Hop Bebop for promotion is the guy from the record company was a real drug addict, but so was everybody. And when it came to promoting my album, which had Hip Hop Bebop on it, he used to put little bags of Coke and MDMA, or MDA, which you called it back in those days, in the record sleeves and send it to Billboard reporters and DJs and people, you know, in the business. So they would get a little goodie bag. So they'd open up my record and go to pull it out, and a bag of Coke fell out in their hands, which sort of meant, please report us to Billboard, whether you're playing us or not, and most of them were, and that made Hip Hop Bebop rise up on the charts. And then one of the other things that Mike Wilkinson, who ran this company, he was brilliant at promotion, is he got me hooked up with the radio station WKTU in New York. Now, if you're a New Yorker around in the 80s, you probably remember this radio station. And the population of New York around then was just a hair under 8 million people. So what we decided to do is I did the station call letters for KTU in my vocoder robot voice, that little machine that turns my voice into a robot. Not a little machine, a big machine. So if you lived in New York City in the 1980s, there was this robot that went 92 KTU. That was me. It became very common later in radio stations around the world, but I was the first person to do it in New York City in 1983. Let's see, hip hop was recorded in November 82, came out in 83, 84. So I was the first person to do these radio station call letters. And in exchange, KTU would put my music into heavy rotation because they couldn't pay me for that because I was also on the air. But it was a form of payola. So between the drugs and the 92 KTU, and I would do the program's director also had a radio show, Carlos De Jesus or Paco, or I'd say the words classics, and all the DJs had a little robot ID. And they were, DJ mix or something like that. So a lot of that stuff that you hear on the radio with those synthesizer voices today, I started back then. And that ran for 2 years. And for those 2 years, 8 million people in New York heard my voice, but nobody knew it was me. I remember when we got the stuff on the radio, then KTU played it, Hip Hop Bebop and Boogie Down Bronx. No, Hip Hop Bebop, Boogie Down Bronx came a little later. And then he would call up WBLS, which is the black station, and go, hey guys, KTU, your competitor is playing this Man Parrish record. What's wrong with you? And they would check the charts, and sure enough they were, and then they would play it. And then we'd call up Kiss FM, and he'd go, hey Kiss, KTU and BLS are playing Man Parrish. What's wrong with you? And then, of course, their competitors were playing it. They had to play it. And we went from city to city, from New York to then Boston and Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia. Once we got the East Coast, then we went south into Miami, or he did, and then over to the West Coast. And that's how he built the popularity up on the radio of Hip Hop Bebop. And in the clubs, there were things called record pools, and DJs, instead of going out and buying records each week, which could be very expensive, they went to these things called record pools. And a record pool basically got mixes or the master tapes from record companies, and they would then do special remixes for DJs or special edits and stuff like that. And the record company that I was on, Import 12, also was a major record pool called DiscoNet. And every month they would get special mixes. They would get, Human League, Don't You Want Me, Gloria, 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 those songs, and they would do edits. We used to edit with tape on a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and with a razor blade, they'd cut up the coke, do some coke, and then edit all these beats together. When you used to hear those classic stutter beats that were done in the 80s. Those were tiny slices. We figured out how long a beat was, and this was an eighth of a beat, this was a quarter beat, this was a 16th note, this was a whole beat, and we would make multiple copies of the same drum loop, and then we would edit them and put special scotch tape across the thing, put it up on the reel-to-reel tape, and that's how you got those stutter edits, which we do electronically with computer now. So Mike Wilkinson not only got me on radio, but also flooded the DJ market with special mixes and with little bags of Coke and MDA to DJs and Billboard reporters, and that's how my stuff climbed the charts. So Hip Hop Be Bop is a whole big story. I didn't get paid on it. It turned into a lawsuit, and that may go over 2 or 3 things. So I'm going to save that a little off, but I thought you'd like to know that 8 million people in New York for 2 years heard my voice. And by the way, Hip Hop Beep, I remember sitting at home, penniless, literally on welfare, and in those days you had books of food stamps to eat and to survive. And cars would come down the block with their windows open. That's when you had the big boom bass cabinets in the back of the Cadillac, which we used to call Dadillac because the guys couldn't own it, but their dads did, so it was a Dadillac instead of a Cadillac. And I would hear my voice, 92 KTU, and then Hip Hop Be Bop, or one of the other songs that I worked on came, and the car would go running past me, and I wasn't making a penny on it. My God. Anyway, there's another quick little story, and thank you for following along. I'm trying to get these up every day right now. Some of them are hysterical. There's going to be a couple of heavy ones and a couple of sad ones. I'm trying to space it out so I don't bring people's heads down. Trying to keep some sort of a rhythm and flow going. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe, please, please, please. It helps the channel. And if you hit that little bell, you get a little notification when I pop up a new one, which right now is every day. It may not be every day, but right now it's every day. Thank you so much. This is my book. I'm getting it out. I want to do it direct to you without any edits, without any retakes. There's one of them where I look like hell, but I just want to be real and direct and tell you some of these fun and tragic stories. Thank you so much. Thank you.